Okay, let's talk about the Week 2 2024 preseason game. Ravens 13, Falcons 12. I watched this game a little bit live, then had to watch it on tape, and man, what a snooze fest. I was so excited to watch Michael Penix play again, and then I turned the game on and he's not playing. So, a bad start right off the bat. The game got more boring from there. I try to pick games to do on video recap that don't seem like they're going to have a huge impact and a lot of things that I would need to write in detail. But man, this one, there's not much to dig into as an overview, as a big impact for 2024 fantasy football. I've got a couple notes about that. I've got them at the end, but the game notes and the scouting notes that I have from this game are more involving. It was backups against backups right from the bat, or right off the bat, and low level backups for the most part. So I saw a couple guys. I watched a little. Some of the guys in more detail that have had good numbers this preseason. So I'm going to touch on them, but I don't know that there's anybody that I'm going to mention here among the no names that's going to light up your world for Dynasty or maybe big roster Dynasty. There might be something to at least put on a watch list, but let's get into it, and then I'll get to the two kind of more pertinent notes from this game at the end and get us on out of here. So this was backups versus backups. Ravens were leading to the end of the game. Falcons scored a touchdown with about 30 seconds left. They were down 7. They scored a touchdown. So down 1, they decided to go for 2 with 30 seconds left, which thank God. So the game didn't end in a tie. They didn't get it. Falcons didn't get the 2-point conversion, so they lost. That's the crux of the game itself. As far as the players, I'm going to go through the players' notes in order. I put them in order of things I found the most interesting from this game. So, the first player that caught my attention, made me go ahead and create him into the system because I didn't really have this player in as a possibility to be a top 700, top 800 type of player, hoping to be a top 600 type of player in Dynasty. And that player is Atlanta wide receiver Blair. He's a fourth-year wide receiver in the league. I don't even really remember him at any stop. There was nothing that came to mind when I watched him. But when I was watching the game, I saw this tall, good-looking athlete make a little short slant catch and got physical with his tackler. And it was just a simple play, but I was like, who do the Falcons have is that big? I don't remember who that is. I couldn't put a name to it. So looked saw the back of the jersey, and I'm like, Blair, who was that? Out of Alcorn State, 6'2". He was less than 200 pounds coming into the league. He looks like he's bulked up and he's beyond that. He might be like 6'2", 210, 215. Good looking athlete, nice sized wide receiver, and he worked like he was the number one. You could tell the quarterbacks were, which was Taylor Heineke and John Paddock. So, we were way down on the depth chart, but you could tell they had eyes for Blair. So I was doing a little bit more research on him, and he's number 2 on the depth chart as an outside wide receiver. I think number 2 to Darnell Mooney. Atlanta doesn't have great depth at wide receiver, but Blair, an undrafted free agent who I think's been in the league for a couple years or been available for a couple years, he's moved up to number 2 behind Darnell Mooney on the outside, and he looks like he's got a little something. I'm not going to say stop the presses and go out and get him for Dynasty or anything, and especially and not for Fantasy 2024. But at least he's now on my radar. He's somebody I'm gonna keep track of. I put him into the system to be in the projection, see if he could crack the top 600 Dynasty at all. So he was the most interesting player that caught my attention. The second player that caught my attention that I found myself watching a lot of, and then I went back and watched some more of his plays in detail, was from the Ravens, the linebacker out of Clemson, Trenton Simpson, that was drafted last year. He's a skinny inside linebacker, and I know he was listed on the depth chart as being a starting inside linebacker, so I was surprised to see him with the lower class of players playing in this game. Trenton Simpson was out there playing linebacker, but he's listed on the depth chart from the Ravens as a starter, and I think he is going to be a starter. I was watching him, focusing in, and just noticing he's really lean. I thought he might be a safety convert as an outside linebacker in college, but they're moving him to the middle. So I was looking at him and I was like, man, he is awful lean. He does look more like a safety than he does a middle linebacker. But he had a good game. He was popped up on most of the plays. He was in and around it, made some nice tackles. So we've got decent projections on Trenton Simpson from what we have on his data in college, and him being listed as a starting inside linebacker now. So great in coverage, but good tackler. Even though he looks a little lean, he was right in there making hits on the Falcons. Had a lot of big running backups that they were running. So he made some nice tackles on him. So Trenton Simpson looks like he's going to be okay. Not a superstar, but not a dud for the Ravens up the middle. Third player that caught my attention, the Ravens undrafted free agent quarterback, rookie Emory Jones, who was supposed to be a star in college. He went to Florida. I'm not for sure, and I didn't look it up, but I think Anthony Richardson beat him out and pushed him out of the way. And then he transferred to Arizona State, then finished up with Cincinnati last year. He was in college for 6 years. But he was supposed to be a kind of runner-thrower star prospect in college, and it just he had a decent season at Cincinnati last year, but it didn't work out that he became that star. But he's not bad. He's quite skinny for a NFL quarterback, but he's got movement skills. He's got a decent arm. He's got a chance to be the number 2 to Lamar someday. Josh Johnson's going to be the number 2 out of the gates, but I can see them putting Emory Jones on the practice squad and working with them, try to make him the next Tyler Huntley for them, backup for emergency purposes. He had a nice 56-yard touchdown pass to the real emerging undrafted free agent rookie star for the Ravens, star of camp. He's not a star impact for the NFL. He's good, he's hopeful, but he's been great for the Ravens this summer, and that's Dayton Wade, the undrafted free agent rookie, continues to be their best wide receiver in the preseason because the Ravens are just going with backups essentially. So Wade has been a standout. He put a double move and shook a defender and got open by about 10 yards sprinting deep, and Emory Jones hit him right in stride. Good showing for Jones, good showing for Wade. Wade will probably make the team. Jones won't. There's a chance both of them will wind up on the practice squad, but those are pretty nice undrafted free agent draws for the Ravens to work with. Next note that I have was about the Atlanta backfield. Of course, they were running their backups, deep backups. So Carlos Washington started, who's a 220-pound bruising running back. But he started over Jase McClellan, a rookie that they drafted, I think, 7th round out of Alabama, who I think's got a little something. I was expecting to see McClellan get the start. He did not. It was Carlos Washington. And I just looking at this game and just watching the two guys work, they're both plausible. They're both like fringe NFL rosterable running backs. Ones you don't care about until, there's 2 injuries for the team, and then all of a sudden they've got to rush their backups and their number 3 and number 4 running backs or somebody up off the practice squad. They're those kind of guys that they're somewhere in the next year or 2 or 3, they'll matter for a week or 2 because of mass injuries for whatever team they're on, whether it's Atlanta or another team. But I thought so far this preseason, and especially in this game, Carlos Washington has been the better running back, looks like the better NFL running back prospect over Jase McClellan. They may end up keeping McClellan because they got draft stock into him and they could put Washington down on the practice squad. There's a chance both of them are going to wind up on the practice squad, but they're a way far distance away from Bijan and Algier at the top for Atlanta. Final 2 player notes before I get into 2 fantasy items. Both are defensive IDP notes. Atlanta undrafted free agent rookie Natrone Brooks. I think he's South Carolina, Southern Mississippi. I think it's Southern Mississippi. Undrafted out of Southern Mississippi. Didn't have a super productive college career. Had a dud of a pro day. But man, he was all over the place here. I don't know what got into him. 13 tackles. He led everybody in tackles and then some. As a corner, making 13 tackles. And he was hitting some people. He also had a tackle for loss. So I had written Brooks off as ever being anything that anybody would ever be concerned with. But now at least he's got my attention that he might have something at the pro level. He's kicking it up a notch. So, but he's a distant backup, and he will probably be put on the practice squad. Then final defensive note for Falcons fans, a linebacker, and I don't know if I'm going to get this name pronounced right, Milo Eifler, undrafted free agent. I think he's 2nd year now, undrafted free agent. He was manning the middle for Atlanta as the starter with these deep backups that were playing. He had 8 tackles. He was moving around well. I thought there was a little something to him for me to keep my eye on, but nothing like, oh, here comes the next superstar. Just somebody who looks like he's capable. But Atlanta's deep at interior linebacker, so he may make the squad and be special teams for a while, or he may go down to the practice squad. But there was a little something with him. Atlanta had a couple decent undrafted free agent rookies on defense to have some hope in. So, but none of the players that I just mentioned are super exciting for fantasy right now, or got to go out and get for Dynasty, unless you're in one of those leagues where it's deep and everybody scarfs up all the running backs. Then Carlos Washington may be something, maybe the number 3 in Atlanta if a crisis hits. So the last 2 things that I have notes on that are not necessarily they're involving players, but it's more situational updates on more interesting fantasy things. The Ravens started running back Owen Wright, who's an undrafted free agent last year, who was gritty and decent and tries hard, but he's not really super talented, but he gives it all he's got. He's a good preseason type of running back. He continues to get the start, and he started last week. Rasheen Ali came in after him. This week, Owen Wright started again, but Ali didn't play. He got I think he got a mild concussion last week in the game, So he didn't practice this week and he didn't play in this game. So I just want to note, because a lot of us have Rasheen Ali in Dynasty, and maybe some for redraft as a possible handcuff for Derrick Henry. That's not working out that way at all. Um, Ali has been, he missed some camp time with his injury, a torn bicep, but I think he then got nicked up again and missed some time in camp. Um, then he got healthy and got into the game last week, but then got the concussion or some kind of mild issue. So he's out again. He's really missing a lot of key time to show his abilities, to show off. So I think we're probably closer to seeing Rasheen Ali go get put on the practice squad. Too many injuries, low draft stock. He got drafted, I think, in the 6th round. There's not, no team is going to stick their neck out on the line and guarantee a contract to claim Rasheen Ali when the Ravens try to put him on the practice squad. So I think that's what's going to happen. There's an outside chance Ali may make the 53-man roster, but the way it's going right now, he just hasn't had enough time to impress anybody. So I'd bet he's headed to the practice squad, but it's not out of the question he might be on the 53-man while Keaton Mitchell's out. When Keaton Mitchell comes back, then Ali or whoever may be headed down to the practice squad. Then the last note that I have from this game concerning fantasy, and it's just something to put on the radar. It's a player that I'm going to drop down a little bit in the rankings, because this type of thing, when it happens, it can be contagious, and you'll know what I mean when I say it. But Atlanta's place kicker, Younghoe Koo, he's usually a top 10, top 12 kicker consideration. Atlanta's going to have a good offense this year. He's got the home dome opportunities to kick in. He's been, a PK1 for the last couple of years. He was the number one kicker in average scoring a couple of years, like 20 and 21 or 21 and 22. He's been good. He's been draftable, but he also went 2 of 5 on field goals in this game, and that's not characteristic of him, missing 3 field goals. And he I think he shanked one, and the other 2 were just generic misses. I'm just putting it out there. If you're grabbing for kickers, if you didn't get our top 2, which you've got to, really, because there's a lot of kickers that are having tough training camps and preseason games, we're going to lower the heat on Koo as just an alternative to get if you're just getting any old kicker. You may want to avoid Koo for a little bit, because there's plenty of other guys in his range, because I don't know if this 2 of 5 field goal thing is going to haunt him, or if he's just going to blow past it next week. So I just wanted to note that. So there it is, all of my notes for the Ravens Falcons Week 2 preseason game, and I am out of here.